Did an automated VO2 max test on a Technogym Excite 900 treadmill to reduce my Technogym wellness age that consists out of the following categories: mind, strength, cardio, body, mobility, and balance. So this treadmill from Technogym has the ability to measure VO2 max, or rather throw out an estimate. Once I log in with my Technogym account, I can, on tests, on the test section, select different VO2 max tests. I selected the Technogym Maximal, calculate your VO2 max with test to exhaustion. Since, first of all, this test is probably more accurate, but I also wanted this to be a cardiovascular workout. There are also sub-maximal tests, such as, maybe not this one, but there are others which I did not take a screenshot or a photo of. For the test, I needed two things. First of all, a heart rate reading. I connected my Garmin Fenix 6S Pro via the broadcast heart rate feature. To connect it, I click here on Bluetooth, then open up either the broadcast heart rate feature, which can be found in the settings. So we go to sensors and accessories, and then we go to wrist heart rate, and then to broadcast heart rate, and then we can activate this setting. Now it should find the Technogym, or rather the other way around, the treadmill should find it. There is also the option to broadcast during activity. I found that I need to at least now activate the profile, which means in this case I activate, or I go into the treadmill profile, which is here, and then I need to be in here because otherwise the broadcast heart rate feature is not active. I then found ANT+ 65A5, which is probably my Garmin 6S Pro. On the 7S Pro, it also showed me a Bluetooth connection, and it just showed me 7S Pro. But on the 6S Pro, it only showed me the ANT+ connection. I then clicked on it, and it was pairing, and then it was connected. Now, this watch is really nice, but it also often tells me heart rates that are not quite believable. For example, recently I went up a hill, or the better example is probably that I airbiked, and it showed me consistently a heart rate of 170 to 180. Or recently I went up a hill and it showed me 120, running basically all out. To resolve this, one could connect a strap, but I don't have a chest strap. So I entered my age, weight, gender, and heart rate. This seems to be an automatic calculation because this seems to be the maximum heart rate. Now, after this button on the right here was green, and I then pressed play. This then started the treadmill. So it began at my heart rate basically at 95 or something like this. And then we already can see what the rough plan for this is. So first of all, since I was running, I took pictures, but the pictures are kind of blurry since I was running. So first of all, we have the heart rate at a minimum. This minimum now is a better picture. Now here we have the heart rate. We have the different heart rate zones, which in this case have different colors, very similar to how you might also find them in different apps or in Garmin. Then I had my heart rate up here, and then I have the speed up here. Now what the treadmill seems to have done is the following. It tried to basically hit the heart rate that it wanted by increasing or decreasing the speed of the treadmill. In the beginning, this was a pace of 9 minutes and 23. In the beginning, I also thought, okay, how long will this take? This is not a workout. So as I was kind of jogging on there, I also recorded a few videos. Whenever I hit the next heart rate stage, it basically showed me a countdown, and then it showed me also for how long this would be. So 300 seconds, if I calculate correctly, is 5 minutes in one zone. What's also noteworthy is that I could not set the gradient or the other things. The gradient did not change at all. It was 0.0 for the whole test, which is not the 1 degree of gradient, which I previously thought, at least I read on the description of the Cooper test on Wikipedia, which stated that treadmills, due to basically uneven ground outdoors, should be on 1% incline. So a VO2 max test on a treadmill maybe should also happen on 1% incline, but maybe the algorithm also does the calculation differently. So here I was basically still in the first zone, and we can already see that it is almost not here. We have 9 minutes almost, and I'm still not even on 1/3 of the distance, which meant that the whole test took about 30 to 35 minutes. I then finally entered the last stage, and the last stage aimed at 167 beats per minute, at least that's what it showed on this line. So here we can see the different thresholds. The first one is 112 beats per minute, then 130, 49, and 67, which is then the last zone. In the last zone now, Every maybe 30 seconds, maybe it was 40 seconds, the speed of the treadmill began to increase. First, it decreased actually, which is then also why the heart rate is dropping, and then it just increased and increased and increased and increased. We see already that this pace here now is 5 minutes and 33 seconds per kilometer. If I would run outside, this would be what I could hold for maybe 30 minutes to 40 minutes as an average pace. As the speed was ramping up, I was not able to film further or take pictures because, well, I was basically at my threshold. So my heart rate increased to 170, then 177, and then I finally decided to stop the test. Very lucky for me, this Run 900 Excite Live Maximal test did still put out a VO2 max. So first of all, the average speed for the whole test was 9.6 kilometers per hour. The time it took me was 27 minutes and 19 seconds, but I also interrupted maybe a fifth to a sixth before the actual test ended. I assume it would have ramped up my heart rate at least until the maximum heart rate it assumed, which was 186. At least that's the heart rate it showed in the beginning here, on the beginning or on the start screen. I then made sure to take about 25 pictures of this screen because the last time I took a picture and it was quite blurry. So first of all, we take a look at the heart rate. The average was 140, and then we also see that at 177, I then basically tapped out. What we also see is that most of the run happened in zone 4, and zone 5 was only basically the last couple of seconds or minutes. Scrolling down, we can also then find the relative VO2 max estimate, and for this, the weight also is pulled in. So the weight here is set to 78 kilograms. Now, if I want to standardize this test over time, the question is, do I always put in the 78 kilograms? Which the Technogym app seems to not have synchronized from Garmin. So I do have Garmin Connect connected to the Technogym account, and as of this morning, I weighed 78.6 kilograms. So it would be probably more accurate to actually also say that I weighed 78.6 kilograms. But then I also ate before. So during this test, I did not weigh 78 kilograms, but rather probably more like 80. And this now is very crucial. If I have a VO2 max of 59 and I weigh, so this is a relative VO2 max because it's standardized per kilogram, and I weigh now 78 kilograms, then my total VO2 max, so my absolute VO2 max, not my total, is 4.6 liters. If now the test determines that whoever is running on there has a VO2 max of 4.6 liters, then it depends basically on how much this person weighs, what the relative result then is. So let's say I had the same VO2 max, so the absolute VO2 max would be the same, but now instead I weighed actually 90 kilograms, then we find that the resulting VO2 max, the relative VO2 max, is now only 51. So basically the watts per kilogram are then different. Not the watts per kilogram, but the liters per kilogram are obviously different because these are the units. So let's assume I have the 4.6 and I would actually weigh less. So let's just assume 75. Then my VO2 max would be 61. So a very obvious manipulation is then to use the morning weight, which is, at least in my case, usually my lowest weight. Or I could also use last week's morning weight, or maybe last month's morning weight, as I was maybe lower in weight. And then to have the VO2 max calculation basically for this lower weight, or at least the conversion from absolute VO2 max to relative VO2 max. If I instead would have weighed myself basically doing the VO2 max test, so maybe using the InBody scale at my gym to weigh myself directly before and then measure the VO2 max, then my actual resulting relative VO2 max would probably have been less than 59 milliliters per kilogram per minute. So what this now means is that my body puts out, or takes in rather, a maximum oxygen amount of 4.6 liters per minute. And if I adjust this to body weight and I weigh 78 kilograms, then this results in 59 milliliters per kilogram per minute. But now the question of the questions, did this improve my wellness age, my Technogym wellness age? I still did not retake the other tests. So recently I took the Mind test. There are 3 different tests on there, which one can take. I did all 3 of them. In terms of strength, this is now the Technogym app, and in the wellness passport, we also find the wellness age. So now we still have the same 6 categories, with the categories being cardio, which now has increased to 59. And this increase of 59, as you already saw, did not cause a decrease of my wellness age or the biological age of this year. What we also see is these different data points here, which make it look like my VO2 max increased drastically from basically around 40 to now about 59. But this is mostly due to basically testing errors. The first test I did was on a Technogym Excite bike, and for some reason it did not allow me to either basically pedal harder or pedal faster. So basically this was kind of fixed, and I assumed this was some technical error. The second test then was done on a elliptical on the Technogym Synchro, I think 900, if I'm not mistaken. So that looked approximately like this. And the third test then was a running test done on this treadmill at my gym, which is, I think, called the Technogym Run 900 Excite Live Maximal Test. Now, since previously my wellness age already was 24, it did not decrease. It's still 24. But previously I had a lower cardio score. I just don't know what the cardio score previously was, because it just shows me the VO2 max in the graph. Luckily though, I have a screenshot, or rather a picture from yesterday. So yesterday it was 77 out of 100 for the 52.2 milliliters per kilogram per minute of VO2 max. And now it's 86. This means it has increased by 9 points, with a VO2 max increase of 7 points. Now, there is also some issue with the strength, because here I cannot really enter all of the strength measurements. So I did actually more tests than this, but it only showed these. So I basically did 1 rep max sets. There are screens on these machines in my gym, but I'm not subscribed to the high tier, which would be these machines. So these machines allow you to basically train kind of smart, and they look like this, and they also have a big screen. I can only train on smaller machines, so these are kind of the normal machines you find in a gym, and they also have a screen, and I can also do 1 rep max tests on them, but they are not as advanced, I assume, as the BioStrength machines. And despite me doing more than these 3 1 rep max tests on these machines, I only now have basically these 3 values in there. I don't know why exactly. The body composition measurement was done on a in-body body composition scale, which was the InBody 570. The mobility test was done with a camera, so it was shoulders, neck, hips and ankles. One had to stand in a certain area, and then the test was kind of done. The mind test were 3 different tests, the brain speed, attention and memory, and it looked like this. So this was one of the tests where one had to basically remember the positioning of these leaves and then tap the 2 ones that are similar. Not similar, but identical. In this test, I had to remember the coin that appeared additionally. This is the balance test. One had to basically hold 1 leg and then basically keep one circle in this other bigger circle, ideally for 20 seconds. So there was a counter and it counted. So while I was already able to reduce my wellness age from 25 to 24, given rounding to full numbers, I am still now at 24.